So earlier I messaged Jack today. I saw there was a new trailer for Godzilla versus Kong. This time it's personal. And I said, hey, do you want to react to it real quick, or have you already watched it? And he was like, oh, we could just save it for tonight. And I was like, all right, cool. So I guess that's what I'm pulling up right now. I'm pulling up the Godzilla Kong trailer. This time it's personal.
Wait. So you're telling me, when you say the title, this time it's personal, that's literally in the title?
No, this time
that's a joke, right?
This time it's personal is a long-running joke that I've had. It may have started with Patrick. I'm not 100% sure. It is a joke.
This time it's really
This time
personal.
it's personal.
This time
is not.
it's
So this time
super
it's personal was on the poster for Jaws 4: The Revenge. And it's just a really fun tagline to put into any sequel.
Yeah.
If there's 5 of them, like John Wick 4, this time it's so personal.
This time it's too personal.
It's ludicrously personal. Hey everyone, my name's Tim.
My name's Joseph.
My name's Rich.
'Tis the season. Merry Christmas, everyone. It is December 3rd.
4th. Oh wait,
Oh,
for you guys, it's for me it's the 4th.
You
Yeah.
have the
It's
big
3rd and the
difference.
4th,
Where else do you listen or watch a podcast where you have time traveling? Nowhere else. Only here, folks.
I have heard some before where they're doing interviews across the water and they're like, it's 4:48.
No. You haven't. It doesn't exist. It only happens here. Everyone else was lying.
This is novel.
This is the only place. Yes, this is novel.
The moon landing was fake. We did it first.
You guys ready?
All right. Hit me with that.
Boom. Uh-oh. Legendary.
I love seeing Jack lean into his screen so close.
Bro, I am.
Oh man, there's seismic activity. Water.
We believed that life could only exist on the surface of our planet.
Oh my gosh. Dude, the music. Oh. Whoa. Is that Bumblebee?
Why did it look like
What
that?
else were we wrong about?
No, I think it's Kong. Or it's maybe another Kong. I think the villain's gonna be another Abe. That's what I heard.
Kongatron 5000.
Oh,
This world has more secrets than we could possibly imagine.
her haircut, rip.
I'm like, there's
Oh.
literally no scientist ever that would be surprised that there's more things than what meets the eye.
Oh. What?
Stop.
Dan Stevens, let's go. I
That's
love
not
him.
Kong.
Evil monkey.
Right.
Could have done this.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
He's red. That means evil. Dang, it looks like we're gonna spend a lot of time in that area on the Earth. Whoa.
Kong can't stop this on his own.
He needs his brother. He needs Gotti. He needs Gotti. There he is.
Is it hibernating?
Ooh. He's gonna be even bigger, dude. Oh, he's pink.
Oh, he got that ultra ego.
Dang. He ugly.
Whoa.
Are they fighting King Louie from the Jungle Book?
Right. Shoo-be-doo. I want to be like you.
Oh,
Oh,
my
Kong
God.
has a robot arm or something.
Bruh. Them running together, that just gives me goosebumps.
Is that a mini Kong?
Cute.
Alright.
Cute. Only in theater. Dang, when does it come out? So it has to be coming out soon.
2024.
Maybe I think it might be March or April or May. So is that supposed to be? Yeah, is that supposed to be Son of Kong? Maybe.
I don't know.
In the beginning, he's like, "Who the heck are you? I ain't your daddy. I don't know who you looking at, boy."
I have only one major problem with this trailer. Just one. No Kyle Chandler.
Sorry, he
No
went bye-bye
Kyle
after-
Chandler.
I will say this.
I'm sorry.
That was the
can't
worst
watch this
Godzilla
movie
film.
without Kyle Chandler.
You gotta admit, the Kyle Chandler one, I love him, but that was the worst one, I think.
He was in like 3 of them.
No, he was only in Godzilla King of the Monsters, the one with Millie Bobby Brown where they introduce her.
No, he was in another one.
I don't know. I feel like
He was in
just
Godzilla vs. Kong. Not for very long.
He was?
Yeah, he was.
Oh,
Not
yeah,
for
you're
very
right.
long.
He was in for like.
He's like,
literally,
Millie, where'd you go?
Yeah, you're right. He
That was the
in
bulk
that
of his
one.
part. I think Kyle Chandler is a very underrated actor, and I want him to get all of the work all the time.
My favorite performance from him is from Super 8.
These movies are just like, they're embracing the wackiness, and I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Which honestly, at this point, they just need to do that because clearly people aren't going to see these right now for the human characters. Like, the thing that gives me hope is that I want to see Godzilla and Kong, and I want to be in their environments more. So it looks like primarily the movie is going to be where Kong's at, and it looks like Godzilla's going to meet him where he's at to fight this freaking creepy red monkey King Louie mother trucker. Yeah, that guy. Good God, he's ugly. That bald head, he's bald-headed.
I had no idea. To my knowledge, was there like an evil Kong in the lore of movies before?
Maybe? I'm not entirely
I don't
sure.
remember that.
I think the problem that what they did was the issue that I had with Batman v Superman. They introduced Doomsday too early, and then they undermined him. And I think with Godzilla King of... And he made no sense, too, narratively. But I think with Godzilla King of the Monsters, the second Godzilla film, they went all out with their best villain, King Ghidorah, and it died. And then they reused it for what do you call it?
Mechagodzilla.
Mechagodzilla,
Like
which
its
it was still
intent went into it or something.
yeah, and like it's a cool fight scene and I liked it, so they still use King Ghidorah's presence to go to the sequel. I just felt like they could have used that later on, and now they're I'm hoping they're not going to be like making up new monsters. So I'm hoping it is an original thing. It's not just like this random thought they had, like, oh, okay, let's just make it be a bad ape. And I think on the highlights, though, I think the CGI looks pretty top notch.
Yeah, it looks
it
good.
doesn't look.
Is Adam
like-
Wingard directing this one too?
Yeah, he is.
Okay.
Which he did a fine job with
it was fun.
Godzilla
Yeah,
v
yeah, yeah.
Kong. It
Yeah.
was overall just a fun film. I think
Yeah, I had a good time.
narrative-wise, like, I don't really care about the humans. You know, when people go to watch Godzilla v Kong, I guarantee you they're not watching the Millie Bobby Brown scenes with that one actor who we just saw who's returning, I guess, for this one, and I like him. Brian Tyree Henry, I think that's his name. He's in Atlanta. But I mean, number one, though, if you ever add Dan Stevens to a film, I'm going to watch it 1,000%. I think he's a phenomenal actor, and I already knew he was going to be this, like, 2 years ago they announced the cast, and they were already developing everything. So I'm excited for it. It's a good idea to have a team-up film. It feels like the natural progression for the story. Like, they fight each other, and then they continue, and there's a bigger threat. Like, what else are they going to do in this universe? I'm just wondering, like, they have this Monarch series, by the way. I can speak only about 4 of the episodes. I've seen 8. And not all of them have been released, but out of the 4 of them, I can see why they released the show before the film, because clearly there are some things that they're going to try to tie into this film.
Yeah, like why?
But it's a little
Godzilla's taking
tiresome
power nap.
Well, they. I don't want to say anything beyond
yeah, I
certain
know you-
episodes, but it's interesting because even though I say no one really cares about the human characters for this stuff, the show is actually doing a good job of displaying human characters and what was it like on G-Day. That's what they called the day when Godzilla arrived and like wreck shopped in the first Godzilla film. And the whole show is primarily in the perspective of this girl who finds out her father has lived a double life and had another wife and another kid without her knowing, or her mom. And you find out that her dad was a Monarch agent, the agency that is trying to stop all these monsters or discover more information about them, and hence the name Monarch. It's a really good show because it focuses on characters, and like imagine seeing Godzilla destroying a city and it has people that you love that are being affected. That's a pretty interesting idea. So I'm really hoping that, even though I say like people don't really care about human stuff, but I think people will care if you actually have compelling characters. But so far, they're bringing back the same characters that no one gives a crap about. and they're adding new people like Dan Stevens, so maybe they are going to try to put somewhat care. But the only reason why I don't think so is because even though I like Adam Wingard,
Yeah.
he's actually a pretty good director. He made a film called You're Next, one of his first films, and it's awesome. It's a great horror film. But last thing I'll say is the scale. I think that's my biggest issue. There are some moments in this trailer that are completely just CGI. And I'm not saying it looks bad. I know I get a lot of flack for this, but I prefer I still think Godzilla, Gareth Edwards, the guy who's directed The Creator this year and Rogue One and an indie film called Monster.
2014 Godzilla, that Godzilla?
Yeah, that one. And what he does well, without a doubt, is scale. And I still believe Godzilla has the best scaling for the monsters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the very first shot you get of Godzilla is when he puts his foot down in front of thousands of people that look like little dots in front of the Hawaiian airport. I think that's where it was at. And in this, like, I love the shot. I think we can see it right now if we're still in the activity, but there's a shot of Godzilla and Kong running. It looks dope. Like, dude, if I was 12 years old and I saw this trailer, I would be like, dude, why is this freaking 27 loser of a man talking about this? This looks awesome. And I'll be like, hey, well, little kid, there was this film called Godzilla. Like this, like, yeah, that shot over there, it's just, it looks cool, but it's over CGI-ified, in my opinion. And it's losing, I think that's my only worry with this franchise right now, is that it's losing its sense of scale. Like,
okay, I think, can I, oh boy. When you say sense of scale, are you alluding to a sense of realism?
Yes and no. Realism in this sense. You have, like in that shot, there was a shot of like this random, like, looked like a freaking kryptonite crystal behind their head.
Yeah.
Didn't know Superman was a part of this universe. And then like, I guess it was underneath some cave, like it's obviously underground what's probably happening. It's in Kong's area, his home world, which is cool, and we already have a sense of somewhat scale from not the first film, but the technically fourth film, Godzilla v. Kong. But one thing that Gareth Edwards would always do is he would place Godzilla and the monsters in environments that you could sense how big he truly was. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of the times, yeah, they do that in some of the sequels, but what happens is they film it in a way that feels either too far away or it's just purely a CGI shot. Mm-hmm. And that's what takes me out.
I think I see what you're saying.
And I think Gareth Edwards, he does this masterful thing where he films an entire scene in a real location and then he'll add CGI on top of the realness. Now it feels like movies today, sadly, and I'm talking to you, Marvel, looking at you in the camera, you do CGI way too much, and it just looks stupid. And this is my last note, and it still connects to Godzilla, but not this film. How can you have a $250 million film like the Marvels look like trash, and then Godzilla -1 with a $15 million budget looks way better than anything you have put on this last year, besides Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and Loki Season 2. That's a little rant about CGI, and I feel like a lot of studios are overdoing it. So it's not bad CGI, because there's good CGI and then there's bad CGI. I just feel like sometimes with these films, the only issue that I have is that they don't know how to blend realism, I guess, in the sense where you do get that full sense of scale and you're like in awe of what you're watching.
Right.
And I think what now the franchise is becoming is fast-paced action. When it started out as a film series that was about actions and consequences, and throw in a monster that looks larger than life.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like, hey kids, turn your brains off. We're the new Transformers franchise. Honestly, but with somewhat better writing and better acting, to be honest.
Somewhat better. It's better.
It's better. It's better acting. It's a better script. But
Still mad about Transformers 5.
Oh, yeah, last night. I will say this, Rise of the Beast.
What do you mean last night? You dragged me to Transformers 5 when it came out 6 years ago.
The
Took you
last
an
night,
hour
man.
to get me out of the house, and it was awful.
Bro, iconic memory right there. But I will say this. If you have Paramount Plus, I think Rise of the Beast is worth a watch. I really do.
Was that like the newest one or something?
Yeah,
Yep, and
I
it
think
didn't
it was
make any
kind of
money.
their take on Beast Wars without it
Yeah, it
actually
was.
being Beast Wars.
Yeah. I'm getting sick and tired of IPs doing that. They're like, let's take these really iconic storylines and then just not really replicate them at all. Unless you're a film called Civil War, which even though that has nothing to do with the comic books, they still made a great film. Like, if you just make a good film, then I'll forgive that.
Yeah, it was
But
a
if you
really
just
good
make
movie.
Yo,
It's
Like,
this
not
is
like the comic.
a like hot take that has nothing to do with King Kong or Godzilla, but like I did not care about Captain America whatsoever. I don't know what it was.
Like his
I
character.
just- Dude, I just found him so annoying. So annoying. I was like, oh my God. But everyone loves him. I don't know a singular person that does not like gawk over Captain America. I can never get into him as a character, and I don't know why. So like it took me forever to get around to Civil War.
That's really funny.
And even then, I was like, I mean,
I love
home
him.
dude
I'll
killed
fight
his
for him any
parents,
day.
bro. Come on. You should understand
hey-
why he wants to kill the guy. Come on, man. Like,
Killing's not the answer, though. Sorry. That's the self-righteous thing that he would say. It's not the answer, Tony. You're
Right,
speaking
okay.
out of aggression.
okay, yeah. Say that to Thanos, bro. Should have went for the
Hey, bro.
head. Am I
Thanos
right?
was right. Thanos was right.
Oh God.
Thanos was right. You should kill them
Right.
all.
Yeah, but anyway, back to the whole Godzilla King Kong thing. I have no frame of reference whatsoever when it comes to this movie or this like franchise or whatever, because I've seen none of them, so I have no idea.
Really?
I've not seen a
Oh.
single one. So I
didn't know
have
that.
I have no idea what this even is. Literally,
I
it's gonna
didn't
sound
know
so
that
bad.
You never saw them.
What this now, the OG Godzillas? Yes, I was raised on that. Like literally, I would watch them all the time with my dad. He had
I
like the
two- I
actual
had two
Japanese ones.
VHSs I grew up with.
So but like, so when I'm watching this, I'm like, this I don't know how I'm supposed to take it. Am I supposed to take this as a joke? Or am I supposed to take this as serious? Like, is it supposed to be a serious film? Is it supposed to be like a? And when I say a joke, I just mean like it's like self-aware in a way where it's just like you were saying earlier, Joseph, where it's just like they're just leaning in all the way on the fact that it's like, you know what I mean? Like it's to a point where it's almost silly. I don't know. Like I couldn't tell based off of this because there were certain things in it where it's like certain shots. To your point about like the whole thing with the CGI, right? It's like there were certain there was like this shot where it was like the people were walking into the forest or something like that. I'm trying to remember where it is at. Whether it was they were walking in there or they were running or something. And I was just looking at it, and I was like, this looks very not real. Like it to the point where it seems like a joke. And so I was like, I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about this or what I couldn't understand the yeah, it's just like I couldn't get the context or the vibe for it. I don't know. I don't know if it's just like I'm trying to understand at what point in time in my life where this might be something I would look forward to or that I would enjoy. I'm wondering if I was a kid, if I'd be very excited for it. I'm wondering if maybe if I watched the other films already, then it would be something I'd be excited for. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure, because even the whole thing with dang, I done forgot like what it was I was gonna say, but basically, yeah, I don't quite know how to take it. I don't know if it's something that I will get around to watching. It looks very like I'll say it like this: it looks hyper saturated. You know, like it feels almost like too much for my brain. You know,
dude, if you compared the first Godzilla film on just purely a color correction level to this, it's like from Man of Steel, like Man of Steel Zack Snyder, to Justice League, the Joss Whedon version. It's like you went from this very contrasty, low light, very dramatic, cinematic looking style film. Like, that's just who Zack Snyder is. And then you get the popping colors Avengers kind of feel all of a sudden in a DC film. That's same studio, by the way, Warner Brothers. And they tend to do this a lot with their IPs. They tend to like shift gears purely based obviously on money, which is how business works. You got to work where the money's flowing, which clearly some people are pouring out their freaking money to go see these films, which I'm one of them, clearly. But I much prefer the other direction. Clearly. I much prefer the other direction because dude, I recommend it. I recommend you watching the other films because you can find some enjoyment. Like, most of them are turn your brain off movies, though.
Which is fine. Which
is fine, yeah.
Rich, throw me control. Rich, throw me YouTube control real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully there's no ads.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
I think you would like the first Godzilla, Rich, but
because I've seen clips from it, and it looks good. It was a thing I never got around to, and then it's like then another one, and another, and it's just like, you know, after a minute you're just out of the loop. And
I also find it immensely interesting that even though King Kong came out in 1933 and Godzilla came out in 1954. Godzilla, despite coming out later, is viewed as like the main character. I feel like Godzilla is kind of clinched as the lead more than King Kong is.
Because when you think about it, Godzilla is like just a machine of destruction.
He's a metaphor. He's a metaphor for nuclear destruction.
Yeah, and King Kong was what? He came from. He was some big ape.
He was a deity. He was worshipped on an island.
That came from some random island that came to a place he wasn't supposed to be, snatched up some random white woman, climbed up a tower, and they shot at him. That's what King Kong is. That's basically his. He's
a big fat simp.
That's his origin story, which is which has its own undercurrent and its own cultural layers.
Yeah, there's relevance.
So that's the thing. It's like if you have the one, that literally just goes around and terrorizes people, blows stuff up, fights a machine version of himself, fights magical moths, and does all this other kind of stuff, and they can't kill him, they can't get rid of him. He does whatever he wants, comes out, terrorizes them, goes back to the water, and it's just like him versus an ape that got shot. Which one are we gonna choose? Obviously, it's gonna be Godzilla. Also, he's like a dinosaur. Of course, he's gonna be better. Of course, he's gonna be better than a little monkey. 10 times out of 10, I'm going to choose a dinosaur over a monkey. Doesn't matter how big or how small the monkey is.
That's a fair point. That's fair.
You know?
I'd watch Jurassic Park before I watch Congo. Fair enough.
There it is.
There it is.
I think like Godzilla, I mean, also to me, the clear better take between King Kong and Godzilla. I'm going to quote Jay-Z and Kanye West. What's better than a king? A god. It's literally in the title. Like, he's Godzilla.
There it is.
He represents the highest being. Personally, to me, that's how I take it. He is the highest being in this universe. So to me, I'm like, of course he would be. That they literally also named his sequel Godzilla, King of the Monsters. So he's not just a god; he's also the king over these certain creatures. So to me, I'm like, he gets even double the name. So, I'm team motherfucking Godzilla.
Yeah, I am too. Yeah, what's playing now is the clip of King Kong fighting the T-Rex in
iconic.
1933.
Wait, are y'all do y'all have an ad, or are y'all watching an actual
I
video?
skipped it.
I don't have an ad. Do you?
Oh, I got an ad. Hold on. Yeah. Okay, I just skipped. All right.
Yeah, this. I'm not gonna lie, and I still find this animation to be so impressive. You have any idea how hard this was to do?
Yeah,
Holy
of course.
moly, it's crazy.
There are a lot of things that I see done, and I'm like, oh, I can imagine, myself doing something like that. And then there's stuff like this where I'm like, I'm not built for that.
I know.
Like,
right?
honestly, I'm just like, I'm not that. Honestly, that is one job that I would not bother trying. Like, I just know. Like, I'm being dead serious. Like,
not made
like I had a job like, crawling under crawl spaces, in mud and next to rats and lifting up foundations. Like, I would do that job. This I cannot do. Like, this level of like little of precision and keeping track of every single position and every single, it's just, and with the technology that they had during that time, no.
Even the tail, look at the way the dinosaur's tail moves when they fight. It moves like the way a snake slithers. It doesn't just move in a straight line. It's crazy.
And that's so cool how they integrated the two, the projection alongside the practical of the tree falling. It's just so cool, like little things like that they would think of and that they would do to like help sell the reality of that.
Oh my gosh, Godzilla's like biting, or King Kong's biting its eye.
Yep.
This fight is pretty brutal for its time, and I still remember. Yeah.
Oh, yep, and he opens the mouth. And they did. Peter Jackson did a great job recreating this scene.
Oh my gosh, it's one of the best scenes in the movie. It's the way, like, it was different. Peter Jackson's take was very different. It's fighting three big somethings. They're like V-Rexes, not T-Rexes. Oh my god! Oh my gosh!
And he plays with it.
Yeah. Nice. And he plays with it just like Peter Jackson's King Kong.
Yo, but you know what I love about this?
What?
Is that it was just straight up 3 minutes of fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was like one of like my favorite episodes, to watch of Dragon Ball Z, right? Where it's like they're just fighting. They are just fighting for like 5 minutes. They're going around, they're blowing up planets, they're punching and kicking the life out of each other, they're using all kinds of moves, some moves you ain't never seen before. Like, you're not getting any of the random interjections from the little side characters and also the kind of stuff. They're just fighting.
Yeah.
Like, that's what that was. Wow.
This is how they fly King Kong in to take on Godzilla in the 1963 Godzilla versus King Kong. They fly him in on balloons.
Original fight on foot. That's funny.
It's beautiful.
Oh my god.
Wow.
It's beautiful.
Hey, get me down! Oh my god. Get me down.
The eyes on these costumes kill me.
Like, I'm watching Power Rangers right now.
I know.
Oh, and that's what I was going to say about that other trailer, too, was I was like, I'm just watching Power Rangers. Like, it just felt like, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It was just so cartoonish in a way.
It's interesting to me how Godzilla, a lot of Godzilla movies have kind of become like this, turn your brain off, have fun, big monsters, big smash, break stuff, blah, blah, blah. When he originally started as like this thoughtful metaphor for unadulterated man-made destruction.
Yeah.
Yep. And honestly, dude, that's why Godzilla -1 is the best film.
Yeah, I
Because
heard
they
it
really-
brings it back in a really good way.
Because you bring on the background. So here's the thing: it's a Godzilla film. It's a Godzilla film disguised as a movie about a metaphor of war and guilt.
Yeah.
Like, it's really a movie about a man post World War II dealing with the idea
Yeah.
of something that he failed in.
I'm excited to see it. I've
Yeah, I
watched
can't-
maybe one trailer, and I was like, I think I'm gonna go into this kind of dark. I think. I'm gonna,
No, dude, I recommend it. I recommend seeing it in IMAX too.
Yo, he hid this humongous King Kong. Just
Give me that tail.
He said, got him.
Yes! I know 2 versions of the ending of this were filmed, one for American audiences and one for Japanese. I don't know which one this is. But I don't think either of them die in either ending.
Stop playing with my
But
tail.
I don't think they ever got together again, Kong and Godzilla, until the newer movies.
Bro, when are they going to let my man fight? That's what I want to know. Because he hasn't done nothing except get his tail yanked. There we go. Come on now.
He's like, what the?
He's
fuck?
checking for
What I'm-
singed hairs. Wow.
Right. Bro,
Dude,
Godzilla, what is going on?
he's got a
Bite him.
He's got a bulkier suit.
There we go. Come on, man.
Just do it the whole time, bro.
Yeah, just spam it.
I love how King Kong
spam
looks
move.
mildly inconvenienced.
He's like,
Dang.
ah, okay, come here.
I can't tell who's winning. Can you?
That's definitely not his. They definitely hired white men to voice over.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Japanese
mean, they did.
men. I don't know what's going on.
I've always thought
Oh,
it
we
was
should
so
get down
funny
there.
that the scales were bendy when he rolls over.
Dude, it feels like their suits always change. Like it looks fatter than skinnier, and sometimes fatter and skinnier. It's like they get a new double in every
Also,
time.
I just want to throw out there, if someone threw a rock at me that was the size of my abdomen, it would potentially...
Yo.
Bro, that was like as bad as Jean Valjean's.
I was
Jean
not...
Valjean.
Yeah, it's fault, yeah.
I was not ready for
Yo,
that.
he's tired after that, bro.
I was not ready for that.
He's like, oh my god, give me a second, dude.
Ooh,
"Get
up,
got
man."
him.
If someone
Insult to
threw
injury.
a rock the size of my abdomen at me, I'd probably freaking die. But Godzilla was just like, nah, tail whip, yo. Bounce back.
Yeah.
And he's like, here's some more rocks. He's like, bro, give me a sec.
Wipe
What
up
fuck
the
is he-
blood.
Oh, he's just burying
Yo,
him.
he's burying him like a
Dude,
I'd be,
dog
like,
with
beating
a
him
turd. Jeez,
I'd
man,
be like
it's
blowing
cold.
fire.
Dang! Now he's beating him with
twerking on
his
him.
tail. Yo,
twerking
Mans
on
is
him,
a
guys. I'm
savage.
sure- Oh!
Oh, he said, got him.
he's a
You thought I was done?
fake
Psych!
out. Use tail whip.
Ooh.
About time,
He
Gotti.
just straight up like WWE wrestled him off the mountain.
He said, all right, I'm really hurt this time.
Yo, that rock should have like straight up shattered his jaw.
Yeah. But you saw how it just like bounced off? It kind of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
deformed it for a minute and sprung back. Bro, Godzilla is not playing with him. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is canon. Not that nonsense where he was just getting beat up. No. Impossible.
Oh my gosh.
There we go. Bury
Oh, he
him
kinda
in
missed.
fire. Dang.
Godzilla is roasting King Kong.
Got him! Yo!
Godzilla
said,
is
"Whoa."
roasting King Kong.
Roasting King Kong.
Stronger. Now watch. Electricity makes him stronger.
They,
Wait,
couldn't even, like-
electricity makes Kong stronger? Since when? Did he say Kong? It makes Kong stronger?
What?
what the fudge?
Since when?
He
Oh
said,
my
let's
gosh.
go. Bro, they had to do something to save him. That's what this. They gave him plot armor. Because he got destroyed. There's no way.
Yo,
Yeah,
he's
now
got-
this is 3 minutes of Godzilla getting beat up.
Yeah, exactly.
Kids back then were like, oh my god, he's got lightning powers?
Yep. I know, he's got
Bro.
plot powers. That's what he's got.
He's got plot armor. Come on. Come on, Gotti. Fight back.
It's just got electric fingers.
He's, you know, like when you
Can
rub
you,
your feet against
I
the
just
carpet?
I want to imagine little Joseph Curtis.
Oh god.
Who choreographed this? This is crazy.
I forgot about that. The tree.
He shoved it right in his mouth. Oh my
I like
god.
to
Nope.
imagine like if Joseph Curtis, if you were born back then and you were like getting
Yeah.
hyped for this movie to review it for your local newspaper, watching this and being like, this is the pinnacle of cinema. This is
This
it.
is 10 out of 10.
This is
best film,
unbelievable.
bro. Come on.
I hope this place was evacuated.
Nope.
I know, right?
Oh my
I do
God.
appreciate a lot of the work going into the miniatures they built. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, look over there. He has the electricity powers.
That's one thing I will say is like miniature work is a thing that I would like to get into and understand.
Yeah.
Like understand how to deploy. It's the I can't quite get wrap my head around it, even though like I know from a technical standpoint.
Yeah.
But I just can't grasp it. I need to actually work with it.
Yeah, I did not remember King Kong having electric powers.
Nope.
That's a new one.
I wonder if they're
Oh
going to
my
do that in the new movie. Oh. Not the sanctuary. He's like, my turn.
Right. Come on, bro. Don't let this man tackle you
I do
again, bro.
kind of
I'm tired
remember
of that.
this little part right here
Dang, is he going to knock him over?
where they
They just destroy the.
it's in between
Say
them, so they
goodbye.
just completely wreck it.
Instead of hitting each other,
Yeah.
they're just hitting
Yes.
the bullet. They have
exactly
yet to
right.
touch each other. This entire little
Get this thing
scrimmage
out of the
they're
way.
having.
That's just stupid. Whoever came. Oh my god. All right, okay, now you can come over. We could have just walked around, but we're too
I also
lazy.
love the floppy tongue in Godzilla's mouth.
Yep.
I
Oh,
wonder in
yeah.
this cut, does Godzilla swim? I forget.
Yeah, he's like the water guy. He
Man.
like comes out. He comes out from
He's
the water.
always been that. He's always been that.
Good stuff.
Yeah, if I remember correct, yeah, he's always come out the water.
Godzilla?
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
he emerged from the sea in the original, I think.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he did.
Ooh.
I still never
I
did
like
see
wa-
Shin Godzilla. I do want to.
It's aight.
The guy who directed one of the most famous / infamous anime of all time.
Mm.
He directed Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I don't. It sounds like Rich knows what that is. I don't know if Jack knows.
I
what that
do.
is. Yeah.
I do, and
I remember seeing like bits and pieces when I was.
It is such a strange
yeah,
franchise.
It's yes, it's super trippy, and it's like personally, it's like I don't know how to feel about it. Like I have very complex
I
feelings
know.
about it. You know what I mean?
The
Like
same. I used to love it. It was like one of the shows I'd wait for to watch on Adult Swim when it premiered on Adult Swim. So much so I bought the DVD box before the show finished airing because I was like, I want to finish this story. And I did. And then I watched the end of Evangelion.
yeah.
The end of Evangelion, I'm not going to say the movie, like, scarred me. But it did keep me awake after it finished because it just had so much what the f***ery. It was a baffling movie to me in many regards. I mean, I honestly had to read about it to totally understand it. I think I would have grasped it better as an adult than when I was... I think I saw that movie when I was like 15 or 16. Something like that. Maybe 7. I was young.
You want to talk about a complete like tonal shift, like at the very end of something you thought you understood very well? That is that. Like,
Yeah. I did see this trailer today. I haven't played enough Fallout
Bro.
to know,
Bro.
like, oh, that's super faithful. I've played a few hours of... I own 3, but I never finished it.
Bro, 4
I bought it
is,
years ago.
Fallout 4 is like one of my favorite video games of all time.
Really?
Yeah. It's a compelling narrative. And this, I think it's probably my favorite TV show trailer. I'm not going to say trailer in general, but it's very well executed. Like the moment they start playing the classical music, the Nat King Cole song, I think it's like titled something Remember. No, it's something Tomorrow. Tomorrow Never
I
Comes.
thought that
or
was such a
whatever.
weird...
That and free 2-day shipping. I'm like,
the
that's
studio
genius.
behind the boys and free 2-day shipping. I feel like
Dude.
that would work in another show. That's such a weird... That's such a weird joke to make for Fallout.
This shot. Oh,
Like, Fallout is not a meta franchise. That's like something if Amazon produced Deadpool, they would do.
well, honestly, no. Like, Fallout has some pretty punny moments sometimes. Like, some characters can be just like oh my god, Walter Goggins as Ghoul is literally perfection. He's like this rascal, dumb character who you're along with in the journey. He's essentially like they're like super old. They get affected by the radiation, and they like live for 100 years.
Gross.
yeah, I don't. There's another thing. I have no idea what is going on. I don't know who any
Bro,
of
and
these
it's a
people
I
are.
have
treat.
like a semblance, but not enough of one.
Look at this.
That's very gross.
Only thing I know about Fallout is what was it, Fallout 76, when everything like went to hell.
Yeah.
That's all I know about it. I don't know
Yeah.
anything else.
Video
And
game
I only
adaptations
found
are,
that out because of internet historians. So.
Video game adaptations are starting to bounce back a bit. They got a really bad
Yeah.
rep for a long time. Super Mario Brothers. Now say what you will, legendary movie. It just wasn't received well. With
Yeah,
Bob
no.
Hoskins and John Leguizamo, who basically just got like wasted on set the entire time.
Literally,
All the way up through like Prince of Persia and Assassin's Creed, like video game adaptations just got
atrocious.
terrible. And then
I didn't know there was an Assassin's Creed adaptation.
Exactly.
Michael
because it wasn't,
Fassbender.
Like, and that's the thing. It
Oh.
had Michael Fassbender. Like, the moment I heard he was attached, I'm like, bro, this script's got to be a banger. Oh my god. Nope. If it was a banger, they messed it all up in the editing. And it was boring. That was the worst part of it. It was just a boring,
which is quite a
boring-ass
feat,
movie.
really.
Yeah, to
That's
make an
pretty
Assassin's
crazy.
like the way they executed certain things, like with the whole how he gets to like, the past, like how they moved, like the pacing with it was just terrible. It was mind-boggling how boring they made the premise, how boring even the action was. Yeah, and that was a film I was looking forward to. I literally bought my ticket for opening night, and I wanted to cry because like Assassin's Creed is probably one of my favorite franchises, like video game wise, like ever. I love those games, and I don't know when they're ever gonna take a crack at it again because that might have hurt it forever. Like that's how bad the movie was, or at least probably another 10 years, and then they'll start making a Netflix series or whatever. Because I think they should make a series, not a movie.
Yeah, it does seem
movie
like it'd be
series.
better formatted for a show.
Yeah, like make it just an 8-10 episode, 1 hour long episodes.
Yeah,
like,
and don't do a million
really-
spin-offs. Just have different seasons be different time eras.
God, like
I
and honestly, I have hope for Fallout though because it's Amazon Prime. Like, I think Prime's a pretty good place.
But yeah, so now we have adaptations. There's supposedly an upcoming God of War adaptation, a Horizon adaptation. The Last of Us went very well. Though I haven't
that's a great
seen it,
show.
I know it's like
Really?
universally beloved by many and most. My mother watched it; she loved it.
Bro, it has it has the best random side arc episode I've ever seen in my life. Like
Is it
at first I was
episode
like,
3?
Yep.
Okay.
It is
Yeah.
one of the most just I love it. I love every. There was some people who were like hating on it because for
dumb
stupid
reasons.
Yeah, for dumb idiotic man baby cry noises reasons.
Yeah,
just
it's not
being-
based. It's woke. Ugh.
It's woke. Even though they definitely made a hint of him being a certain sexuality in the video game, they just didn't expand upon it, and then they did with the show, and it was amazing.
But that's not based.
Wait. So what you're telling me? There's gay people in this game?
Rich,
Oh, I
if
can't play
your
anymore.
podcast with all 6 of us ever comes back, we've got to do like something about the manosphere and the notion of woke versus based.
Yo, that would be a crazy one. That's one for all time history.
When I see
Yes.
comments on YouTube that say like, "Wow, that is so based," I'm like, "Are you actually 11 years old?" In a way, I honestly find it to be a word that I've begun to associate with the inability to articulate how you actually feel about something. It's just like, I like that. That's what I like that equals based. that's what I feel like it is.
It's like it's interesting. It's almost like a thing of like etymology, just like seeing how it's like changed over time and how it like rapidly became basically just a meme, where like at one point in time it like meant what this person is saying or like what they're doing or whatever is something that's like elevated and that's true and that cuts against cuts against the grain. Now it's just like, it's not even just like, oh, I think this is cool. Like, it's like the term has been hijacked. Like in the mainstream, it's been hijacked by people that are just like toxic, and so it just means like the more toxic you are, then the more like based you are in a way. And it's just like, it's weird how it just like totally flipped, because like like there's a cultural context like for that term that goes back decades, but like it didn't exist in the mainstream.
Yeah. Well, The Last
and
of Us
then
is not based, Rich. It's
yeah. That and that's another one that I've never interacted with. I know people went crazy
played the
over the game. I've not watched a single lick of a playthrough or anything like that.
It was a
I
good-
just know
it was a
I
really
just know
good game.
everyone said it was really good, but I also heard it was, sad and very contemplative and all this.
Yeah.
And I'm
yeah,
like,
sure. Now it
I
was a
think to
really
me-
I'm good on it.
It was a really good game. I've seen reviews where someone was like, when that game ended, I just went on like a drive through San Francisco and just like thought about life. And if a game puts you in that place, fine. I've had games put me in that place before. This game put me nowhere near that place. I don't think it was a bad game by any stretch. I think it was a very well made, incredibly well written, well acted story. It was really, really well done. But for me, it was not like this. It was not like a life-changing game for me. It was incredible. I would have been absolutely proud to have worked on it if ever given the chance. If someone was like, "Hey Tim, want to play someone who dies in the third one?" I'd be like, "Hell yeah, let's go!" Like that sounds awesome. But I mean, my list of games that I would say put me in a place that I feel like reached past the screen and changed me as like a person or really affected me. It's a very, very small list, and The Last of Us is not on that list. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just not. It was a really good game, though.
I think The Last of Us Part 2, and this is a polarizing opinion, like if someone said The Last Jedi is the best Star Wars film.
You like 2
'cause
more.
I like 2 more, and I've had to think of that decision for years.
Okay.
Because the game's been out now for 2
Almost 3
years
I
now,
think.
maybe? Almost 3, yeah. There's
Almost.
going to be
Dang.
a PS5 upgrade, I think, of it, which I can't wait to get because they're going to add some stuff to it, and I want to play it again, especially with Season 2 coming out. I think that's why so many people say it's their favorite, because it's something that, like, makes you really think, and you're like, damn, am I a bad person? Like, I'd be like, you have moments. Yeah, we all have moments. We have dark, like, if people could really get into everybody's heads, they wouldn't be sleeping for a couple days. They'd be like, what the frick's going on with you? If people want to know why their franchise don't work, it's because your characters suck, more than likely. No, like, if a movie flops, either it had bad marketing, so no one knew about it, so shame on the people that you hired, and also shame on you for hiring them. Number 2,
Shame.
it's sometimes, actually it's 2 things. Sometimes it's the writer, it's their fault, which usually it always is if it's not a compelling narrative, but also it could be the editors. Like, you could have actually, like, they could have filmed something really amazing,
Yeah.
and then the people go in and chop it up. And that's happened so many times, hence why there's director's cuts and
Yes, but
studios getting in the
also
way.
editors don't necessarily choose the cuts that are used.
True, that is true.
And to my understanding, that is not usually the
vision.
case.
Yeah, so yeah, the director, like, and that's why it's so messy with big IPs, is like, it is sometimes the director's fault, but sometimes the director, like, a great terrible example is the Fantastic Four movie directed by Josh Trank, which really got hijacked by the
Are you talking about Fan Four Stick?
Yep, Fan
Okay,
Four Stick.
gotcha.
Like,
I haven't seen
was
that either.
Me
I just
neither.
heard about how
It's
bad it was.
Me neither.
There should be a movie about what happened. Like, that's how insane that story is. Like the director got to a point where he was just kind of going crazy. Like, he had, like, dogs on set that were, like, ripping through stuff, and, like, he was yelling at his cast members because he was under a lot of stress. Like, he just was. Ugh. That was, yeah, no bueno.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, besides all the monsters and video game stuff, I do feel like video games are kind of bouncing back a bit with better and well-made adaptations. The Last of Us hit a pretty mainstream audience. It'll be interesting to see what Fallout does. I know that apparently there is officially a live-action Zelda movie in the works.
Yep.
The
That's confirmed,
credits
yep.
of the people involved in it have some people scared.
Wait, who did they already announce? Like the writers?
I believe they announced at least the writer and director. Let me see. Zelda live action.
Oh, I think you might be right.
Nintendo and Sony teaming up to make live-action Zelda movies that Sony is co-financing. It is being directed by Wes Ball.
Who has some really okay movies, and then he has some good ones, and then he has some, bro, that was just...
He has Maze Runner, The
Great
Scorch
film.
Trials, Maze Runner,
Not
The
good.
Death Cure.
Not good.
So he's got Maze Runner.
Yep.
And
Which is, dang, those are the only films he's made. Which, I mean, overall, they're all in the 6s, so it's like, it's okay. But, yeah, here's my other hope for him. I'm giving him another chance, because I actually really loved the first Maze Runner. He's making Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which is coming out next May.
Zeldas are my favorite games, though. This could hurt.
No, and that's why I'm concerned too. Now, like
This
honestly,
could
you
hurt.
reminded me about it. Well, I'm more so looking at the writer, Derek Conley. That is the part that I'm worried about, because what he's made is, I'm gonna curse. I'm sorry, and maybe bleep it out. It's what he's written is, and I really hate to say that, because at the end of the day, I'm a nobody. So you've made it, Derek. You were able to write $250 million budget movies, but you attempted as if they were worth 5 cents, because that's how much effort it seemed like you put into it.
You said
little
Derek
shit.
Connolly?
You want to know why I'm getting pissed? Because he did Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker and the worst Jurassic film movie ever, Jurassic World Dominion. That was my number one worst movie ever, and way to bring up insects to be your main villain, you idiot.
So
For
this is
Jurassic
what I was
film.
gonna say, which ties into what you're saying now. But just as far as like, how a lot of movies end up being like just terrible or trash and that kind of thing. You talked about, the writing and the editors, sometimes the director, but at the end of the day, it actually ends up always going back to the producer. The producer or producers, they own it. They own that voyage. The director is the captain of that ship, but ultimately is the producer's voyage. They funded. They made sure everything was so. And when you look at a script like what's this dude's name? Wes. What the guy? The writer that's terrible.
Director
Wes Ball.
Wes Ball, right?
Wes
So
Ball.
let's take a Wes Ball, right?
Let's take a Wes Ball.
Let's say he's writing these terrible scripts. Okay. But guess what? Somebody bought them.
I don't
That's
think he
the
wrote
thing.
it yet. Oh, you mean
That's
someone bought the other ones?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? Is that at
Yep.
the end of the day, the scripts
said the
got
script
bought,
said, "Sure."
and then they got made. Now, here's the thing also with that and with that whole process as well. Studio interference has also been brought up, right? This is also very, very real. Now, when it comes to, I don't know this gentleman. I know nothing about him. I never even heard his name before tonight. And, I don't even think I've seen any of the movies that you guys mentioned. However, so all those, I guess, qualifiers out of the way, a lot of times what you'll see in certain professions or instances or whatever else is that sometimes people will choose a person that they know they can get whatever they want out of. So, for example, if I'm a big studio and I have a vision, hey, I want a story that has yada, 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 right? Got this guy. I know he's gonna write basically whatever it is that we want him to write, and that is what it is. He's not really gonna give us any pushback or whatever. He's gonna do the revisions the way we want him to do the revisions, and you know, and then we get a director in here, you know, that we like or whatever, but they try to take it in another direction. So then we just fire them, and then we bring in someone who wants it. You see what I'm saying? So it's just like it's that kind of thing. So that's what ends up making it kind of tricky, is because it's like someone could be let me calm down. I'll say this. It could very much be the case. I'll say it that way. It could very much be the case that he is a terrible writer. But that in and of itself is the problem. The fact that you can have a terrible writer that's writing, like you said, like these like $250 million budget films, and basically anyone with 2 cents knows that it's going to be a flop, but it still gets made anyway. That shows a breakdown in the system because somebody bought it. And then they had to keep making purchases along the way. They had to essentially buy a director. They had to buy talent. They had to buy locations. They had to buy all this stuff down and down and down and down and down the line, right? Yeah. You got all the above the line people. All those people got paid. And then you have all the down the line costs as well, or below the line costs as well. All those things got paid based off of what? This whack ass script that somebody bought. And so at the end of the day, it's like just because someone wrote a thing doesn't mean someone that it has to be produced. But for whatever damn reason, these people are choosing his scripts. So then the question is why? What is going on?
That's the thing that bewilders me, because I'm looking at the actual writer who's going to write Zelda, and I guess he's going to write the screenplay for Metal Gear Solid, the live-action movie. For some reason, he's going to do that with Oscar Isaac, who I think is perfect. It's great casting. But, like, now that I, like, know these things, and now I'm at a point with my knowledge with movies, it sucks to be in this point in my life because I wish that I could just, like, not know these things. Like, who's writing the film? Because as a kid, I just watched the trailer and be like, oh, my God, I can't wait. But now it's like, wait, who the frick is making this, though? What studio is behind this? Like, it's like now, like, movies are political now. Not, like, political, but you know what I mean?
Right,
like, it's
right,
like this
right.
New knowledge where it's like, dang, it's so controversial. This guy's going to be attached to it, but he's done this and this. And it's like, God, can I just enjoy the movie? But no, because at the end of the day, these people, clearly they want to make money. And that's my issue. It's like, you want to make money? Why would you hire the guy that basically, you want to know why? Oh my God, I'm going to get 2 seconds and I'm done with this note. You want to know why there hasn't been a Star Wars film for the last 4 years? Because of the Rise of Skywalker. You're telling me you hired the guy who wrote the Rise of Skywalker to write a franchise? This, honestly, I'm going to say this. This movie, this video game movie, is quite possibly at least in the top 3, if not top 5, most anticipated IP movies ever made.
It's up
like,
there.
Ever.
It's up
Yeah.
there.
Like,
I can see
top
that.
5 at least, top 3 even. I'm not going to say it's the number 1, but you're telling me you hired the guy who did 2 films that essentially left a... Like, at the end of the day, people got to admit it. They left a sour end to a franchise named Star Wars and Jurassic World, and you hired the same guy. Like, fool me once, shame on me. Shame on you, fool me twice. That's kind of my bad, bro.
Fool me 3 times, so Sony, I watched it because it's my job.
It's like,
right.
I guess we just really want to have ish. And sometimes, honestly, Sony, they can have... It's funny. Sony has... Here's an example of my issue with Sony. They have the best Spider-Man movie ever made. Across the Spider-Verse. And Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire. But they also have the worst of the Spider-Man movies and spin-off movies ever. Named The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which is a guilty pleasure, and Spider-Man 3, and also a film called Morbius.
I'm still mad at you for that one too. I had to see that one for you too. As soon as
Bro,
it ended, I went back to the booth and said, "Give me a ticket for Everything Everywhere All at Once, please," because I hadn't seen it yet, and it was the greatest palate cleanser I ever had in my life. But man,
Bro, talk about a massive change.
Morbius was baffling. A baffling movie.
There were some scenes that I will admit that I was like, I liked that. And then the rest of the movie
There was
played, and I'm
one
like, oh yeah,
part
that's right, it's bad.
in the entire movie where I thought to myself, "Oh, that's kind of cool." One part.
I love the train sequence. The train sequence is dope.
No, that wasn't it.
I like that part. I thought it was kind of epic.
Well, I'm really happy
and
for you,
also
man.
the dancing scene. And also the dancing. Can't forget
The
that.
dancing in the mirror scene.
Bro, that's
sent
iconic.
me straight out of the atmosphere. That was
Bro.
unbelievable.
Matt Smith
Have you
was
seen
like,
that movie,
"This is
Rich?
going to be
Morbius?
amazing."
No.
Let me see.
It's
if
so
I just
bad.
remember your reaction to it.
So
Like when you're talking about it, yeah.
there's
That's
just as the movie. Let me see if I can.
And
There's
a
just-
scene-
all I remember is like how much Joseph loved it and how much you hated it, and like
It is
just
the-
like
I
that.
recognize it's bad.
Yeah, exactly. You're like I know it's bad, but I still really
Okay.
enjoyed it.
Do you
and
care
enjoyed my
if
time.
I spoil anything to do with this movie?
No,
Great.
I don't care
Great.
if you
Hit-
all
Just care to
spoil
spoil it.
anything.
The
Like,
villain is his
spoil
best.
the ending of the Bible. It doesn't.
We all go to heaven.
The villain is his best friend. Ta-da!
Okay,
you see
yeah,
it coming 40 miles away. And so
Yep.
the villain gives himself vampiric powers. This is the scene where he's like, wow, I'm really feeling this. And it comes out of nowhere. Before this, it's just like, I don't even know, a casual conversation or something. And then this just happens.
Yo.
He just starts dancing. In front of a mirror, by the way. He's in front of a mirror. Now, this
Yo.
character, he's had disabilities all of his life, trouble walking, trouble moving, so this power's giving him his swag back. And he just starts dancing in front of a mirror without a shirt on and like flying. It is so weird.
Very weird. I love that wallpaper though.
I will say this, like,
That's so
I
nice.
understand what the director was probably trying to do. They were trying to, like, number one, have fun, like, with the scene, but number two, they were trying to say, like, this dude's, like, in his prime, and, like, he hasn't been able to do that his whole life, but it just comes across as, like, wow, is this a comedy? Is this film
Dude,
like,
I
like
love
where's
I
Will Ferrell?
lost
super
it.
weird.
I lost it completely when this scene I was
That-
like,
that part.
I knew you and I know. I knew you and I were going to have to. I think I left my camera off before we started talking about it. And then when I turned it on, I was shirtless and dancing at the camera. Like, I think I
Dude,
did something
Bro.
like that.
I am
So
like
weird.
honestly mesmerized by this room.
Yeah, by like the zebra coating.
Yeah, just like almost everything about this room. I don't really like the chairs, but
You gotta, like, this is the one thing, though, that I think is really fun about this movie is that Matt Smith had a hell of a time making this.
Yeah, like he's chewing the scenery for sure. Well, honestly, he's almost
Yeah.
the only one who is. The only other actor in this movie who chewed a little bit of scenery was like there's a scene with these two cops and one of them is like the funny cop and he does his job. Like he does exactly what the screenwriter and director wanted him to do. No
Yeah.
more, no less. He did his
And
job.
Tyrese
He
Gibson's
fulfilled
just-
his contract. His paycheck was earned. Go home, rest well, live well, eat well. You have earned it. But like Matt Smith was just like, "Oh, what's the scenery made of? I don't care. I'm gonna freaking eat it." Like the whole, there's no dialogue in this scene. Honestly, that's a little bit of a mercy. The scenes where there are dialogue are the first scene where Matt Smith and Jared Leto have an argument, like when their relationship starts to break down, is out of it's crazy. Like everyone it jumps from like we're friends to I don't like you anymore in like 3 heartbeats. He's like, well, why wouldn't you let me have this power? He's like, because we haven't tested it. Like it's that. Like you know
always
what
the-
it is as soon as you start watching it. Well,
It's always like the blood thing, like with Sony with Spider-Man. They did it with Amazing Spider-Man 2 with Harry and Peter, and then they did it again with Morbius with, why won't you help me? Why won't you blah, blah, blah? Give me your powers. You don't know how to access it. You're going to turn into a bad person. Oh, and then he does. And then
you're a bad person now.
and then he kills him. Spoilers.
One thing you were saying, Rich, was like, yes, there's directors and writers, but it's the producers, and yeah, they finance it. To my understanding, producers do not have a ton of creative control. They finance the films that interest them. I believe in television, the executive producers actually do have more creative control.
Yeah, I mean it ends up depending, because there's like a whole bunch of there's a bunch of different kinds of producer. You got a line producer, you got a co-producers, you got you have like a whole bunch of different kinds. They all have like different functions or whatever, but you've got the ECs, which are the ones that like actually bring in the money, and then you got the producers that are, for the most part, actually like the hands and the feet. Like they're actually going around and are doing a lot of like footwork. Like they're almost kind of grunts in a way, but just like glamorous grunts, that also hold a lot of power, but they're doing a lot of work. But at the end of the day, yeah, but at the end of the day, like it does end up going back to really the ECs, and it's like, okay, it's our money.
Do you mean EP,
and it's like,
or do you mean EC?
oh, sorry, yeah,
Executive
EP.
producer?
I'm
It's like the
yeah.
executive craft
The executive
services
content
table?
creator. No, my mind was somewhere else. But
No, you're all good.
yeah, because again, at the end of the day, it's like it's their voyage, and so, but how many of them end up really meddling? Like, most of them are like, the reason they chose the people that they chose is because they trust them to make something and
Yeah,
to like get them a little bit of money back. So like, you don't really, like, in most circumstances, it's just like it's a nice little money venture for everyone, and like maybe it's a project that they like, and that they think it's like, oh, this would be a nice little story, whatever, yada yada, maybe it can make us some money too.
Yeah.
But especially when you start talking about like in the studio space, then it's like, yeah, like those people and like those producers are like, they're gonna run that. Like,
Yeah.
they're not just gonna have a director and then send them on a voyage. No, they're gonna be there on the boat, and like the person that was like like charting out where it was gonna go and drawing out the maps and all the kind of stuff. They're right there, standing over their shoulder. They're right there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like they're gonna be right there on the docks, telling everybody where to go. Once they get to the other side, like that's what you're gonna encounter there. And so it's like, for me, when it gets to a certain level, it's not even so much of just like bad writing. It's about like, why did they buy this bad script? Why? And the thing is like, I know it went through revisions. Why did you make this one? That's the thing. Why? No one made you do it, but you did it anyway. Why? Like, when there's like weird performances and stuff like that too, it's like, I understand at a certain point, it's almost like the time sink fallacy, right? Where it's like, you feel like you invested so much time and all that other kind of stuff into something, and now you can't pull out of it. But it's like, at the same time, like, so you have development, then you have the pre-production, then you have the actual production, then you have post-production, and you have distribution. in this development phase, number one, where you're basically assembling the Avengers, and you're figuring out, okay, who's this director gonna be? If it's not the case that the director came across a script that they really wanted to get made, and then they partnered up with a producer, some producers that believe in the project and help it get funded or whatever else, or you have a writer director or whatever else, right? But that kind of thing, and you're workshopping, okay, what is this actually? Where is it going? And what can actually be made off of this? How can it actually be sold? Will people give a damn? These kinds of things, and figuring out where it can actually be distributed and all that kind of stuff. And as you work those things out and working out deals with people and gathering deal memos, and this person says they'll definitely work on it if that person will be on it, and that person says they'll be on it if that person's on it. And so finally lining all that stuff up, and then exactly, and then finally when you get the green light, you have all the funding, let's go. Now you're in the pre-pro and you're getting all that stuff hammered out. And during this time, obviously, like you're doing or have already done the location scouts. You're going through the casting and all those other kinds of things, and then by a certain point, you've already begun doing like all the rehearsing and all those other kinds of things, right? All that stuff, and also too during the casting phase, like you were doing testing, right? And that kind of thing. Okay. All that I just talked about and more. You shoot it. Okay. Remember, all that happened and more. Before even production. And we get production and we get post, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's still of approval. So, why is it when we watch the thing on the screen, it's god awful? You see what I'm saying? If a problem, like if I'm saying, for example, like with the acting, right, where it's like something is off here.
I mean, it depends on what movie we're talking about.
Can we?
Of course.
Can we blame the talent? Can we? Because at a certain point,
I'm gonna say no.
Right? It's like they are an instrument. They are a part, and at any point in that line, something could have been done to change that.
Yeah, and that's why like people do rewrites, or they completely just stop the project in the middle of it, hopefully, because sometimes people just like, I mean, for example, what happened with Batgirl. Did you hear about that? How they just
I did.
Completely
how they pulled the plug?
it.
Yeah,
when it
they
was
pulled
done.
the plug on it, and it was done, completed. And I mean, it could have been terrible, but it was for tax write-offs, I guess. But really crazy. But I think I get what you mean, what you're saying, because at the end of the day, there was executives and people that are really top guys in studios that approve these things, and it's like, why? Well, they just hope to make their buck because they already put on that work, and they're like, well, at this point, let's just see what we can do and see how much we can make. And that's really sad, because that's the reason why they do that.
And that's not to say that there aren't bad actors, and that there aren't bad writers, and that there aren't bad editors, and that there aren't bad directors. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not. However, what I am doing is I'm putting the onus back on the people that actually make the decisions, because
at the end of the day.
Exactly, because if we, the consumer, can see that something weird is going on with in the chemistry between these people, when I know for this like $250 million film, I know for a fact that these people did chemistry testing, probably with dozens of different actors and actresses, and you're telling me even from that time, then to all the rehearsals, all the blocking, all the everything. All of that, right? Even with the fine with principal photography, and even when you go to do ADR, which I know you all do ADR, right? Damn near nothing that we hear in a film is actually what they shot day of. Like, a lot of it is actually replaced. You're telling me through all of that, you couldn't find a singular good performance out of these people? Are you kidding me? Something is totally wrong here, and that's more so of what I'm saying. Even back to the whole writing thing, even though it's like all these things kind of, kind of tie in, because it's like, if you do, because think of right, it's like all these ideas where they could have been done so much better from someone else. There are probably other people that might have even done spec scripts, but it's like for whatever random reason, this guy is just the blessed guy. He just he keeps getting all of them, but somehow he seems like he has the kiss of death. But
I mean, there's no way to pin it down because it can go wrong in so many different places. Like,
true.
We'll take an example that people universally agree is not good. Suicide Squad. I saw Suicide Squad on a bargain day Tuesday because I had heard some about its reputation, and I just like cheaper movies to begin with. Like, Jared Leto was like the sore thumb of the movie. Like, everyone was like, I almost feel like no matter what, if you play the Joker, it almost feels like there's not much of a middle ground. Like, you did a good job or you didn't feel like the character.
Yeah.
You feel like it's easy to pin down whose fault that is. And at first glance, it's easy to say, well, it's Jared's fault. He went way too overboard. He sent supposedly used condoms to actors. He sent someone like
it was like a dead
supposedly
rat or
dead
something.
animals, which is
Dead rat,
really
yeah.
twisted. I mean, they're all twisted, but at the same time, you also have a director who's supposed to be in charge of the actor, who's supposed to have administrative authority over the actor to be like, hey, I don't like this. But maybe the director did like it. We don't know. Like, we don't know where it really came apart. We don't know if they were like, you know what, Jared? You won an Oscar. Do whatever you want. We don't know if they tried to rein him in and they were like, what are we going to do with this guy? Like, how do we get anything we want out of him? We don't know if there was, like, belligerence. We don't know. No idea. Supposedly, there's so much footage that was shot that there's, like, a whole other Joker movie's worth of footage that is just, like, lost to time, supposedly.
Yeah.
But who knows why it's not there? It might be because they were like, what are we going to do with this guy? This is crazy. We can't use any of this. It can come apart in, like, 40 different ways. Yeah. I mean, we can all have our educated guesses. Everyone just said, wow, Jared was really bad in that movie. But Jared Leto has been a good actor before. So it's difficult to figure out who dropped the ball and who dropped it where. Did the director drop the ball in not reining him in? Did Jared drop the ball in his overall interpretation? Did they try something different and the producers were like, no, something edgy and hip for the young crowd, let's give him tattoos. And, like, was it financiers interference? Oh, I've no idea. All of that stuff would probably be under NDA lock and key.
Well, like, there was this, actually funny that you brought that up. I watched this, like, 2.5-hour interview with David Ayer, the director of it.
Yeah.
With John Bernthal, who has this amazing podcast on YouTube.
Real Ones?
Where he did one with Shia LaBeouf. I thought it was a beautiful, beautiful conversation. And this was also another one where he was talking about his life. He was like born in the ghetto and why he basically randomly got into film. He just wrote the script and they were like, "You want to do Training Day?" And just that changed his life. You know, like he wrote
Yeah. Wow.
Training Day. That's an amazing film. Like talk about a crazy first script
Okay.
and it was something that he could relate to. He was born in like that kind of environment, so it was kind of cool getting perspective of who he is and like why he does like these edgy films. And then obviously Suicide Squad happened, and I truly do believe him when he says that there was like when they dropped the first trailer at Comic-Con, totally a different vibe. It was dark. It was a really great trailer. Had an amazing song in the background, and then they changed everything because of how people reacted to BVS. Like, he even openly said that in the interview. He was like, yeah, they just didn't like how dark it was, and then they were like, hey, hey, what was that one film that let's make it more like Deadpool. That's when Deadpool and Suicide Squad came in the same year, about 6-7 months apart, and BVS came around the time as Deadpool around the beginning of the year, so they reacted. And they completely made a new trailer with Bohemian Rhapsody in the background. And it's still like one of the best trailers that year. It was an amazing trailer. But it changed the vibe because the studio reacted. Because people looked at BBS and said, that's depressing.
It didn't do well because it was dark and depressing. Let's make it bright and happy.
Yeah. And then they made Justice League after.
Then they made Suicide Squad with a music video at the beginning, is what they made.
And honestly, I blame. At the end of the day, it was the studio who effed the film over. But I bet the editor's great, but the biggest issue I have with that film was editing. Like you said, it was music video, fast editing, but it wasn't like it wasn't good fast editing.
But it almost felt like it didn't feel like the editing was the editor's fault.
No, and I'm not saying like it's the editor's fault, because at the end of the day, he's doing what he needs to do, and it's not like these cuts are terrible. It's more like this style does not belong with what I'm seeing right now. Like, why is this fun? Like, why are we trying to be funny right now? Like, we have a character that lost his whole family, Diablo, who I think still did a good, like, I think everybody did a pretty good job performing. Like,
Rich, have you seen that
Jared
movie?
Leto, which one?
Have you seen
the Suicide Squad?
No. The 2016 one.
Yes, I've seen that.
The new one you should.
I've seen it 3 times because I saw it once, then I watched it again, I think with you, Joseph, just to be sure I didn't like it as much as I thought I didn't like it. Then Joseph bought the extended cut. So now I had to watch it a third time. And
longer.
It was still the same movie as before. And
no, but remember when we did the review together?
Yeah.
And I went from being okay with the film, because I remember we were vastly different opinions at first. I was like, I actually enjoyed it. It's dumb, but I liked it.
Dude, I proselytized you so hard.
I know you did. And then I watched the extended cut, and who knew that 11 or 12 extra minutes would make me despise the film? Because I really, truly, I saw the film for what it was with that extra 11 minutes. They're like, hey, look, more Jared Leto, and I'm over here like, oh, that's going to help the film, right? Oh, nope, it didn't. It made it worse.
Well, one of my issues with that movie is that there were characters who just genuinely felt like common sense was out the window. And that drives me crazy in any movie. Because to me, that's almost a failure on every participant. It's a failure on the writer, and then everybody read it and was like, oh, that's good. And then the producers were like, yeah, sure, that makes sense. And then the actors weren't like, why am I doing this? Maybe they were. There's been times before on sets or in plays and shows where I'm like, excuse me, what's my motivation? Like I've had to have those silly questions before. And I think the scene that honestly blew my mind the most in that movie was when they rescue Viola Davis from inside the city. She's in, she's bunkered down in her headquarters. They rescue her. And then everyone that she was bunkered down with when they rescue her, she just murders every single one of them. And then just goes, what? They didn't have clearance for this. And I was like, why did you hire them for this then? Like, this is your team that you wanted there, and you, like, giving them clearance was your job. So you got them killed? Like, you got all of these, like, people who may very well have families just murdered because you didn't feel like filling out the quick paperwork for where you assigned them to? Stuff like that in movies genuinely bothers me, where common sense just went out the window so that the character could look ruthless because she's notoriously ruthless.
But see, all of these things, they go back to even the inconsistencies, the meandering, the changes in tone, like all of these things go back to the very beginning and to the very top, which is at the level of the development of the actual story and the screenplay and what it actually is. This is part of the problem, is that instead of having a vision and just sticking to it, what these studios are doing is they'll film so much, and George Lucas did this too. And as much respect as I have for him, this is a thing that would have really pissed me off. Because, like, if you've seen any of the documentaries, because I love watching the documentaries of, like, how he made them, especially episode 3. But honestly, probably my favorite one is actually the making of episode 1. But, like, literally, it's just, like, he's just, like, a menace. And it's in the way of he has the screenplay and is like, oh, it's just like a basis or starting off point, right? Like, it's not an actual, like, thing. It's like a bag for a bunch of ideas. That's basically what a screenplay is for George. And then, you know, of course, they would still have development. They would have all these storyboards, all these other kinds of things. But he literally said himself, he makes the movie at the cutting table, which I understand. I understand what he's saying in that. But he's literally not kidding. Like, he makes the film in at, like, literally when you watch this documentary, I was like, what the hell? And what's so funny is just seeing his editor, like, talk about it, and you could tell, like, it pisses him off. Because literally he was having him, like, cut characters out, flip them around, reverse performances, do all this other kind of stuff. But when you and that was back 20 years ago. 24 years ago.
Yeah.
George was doing this. But see, look, this is what all the studios are doing now. There was once a time when they had a singular vision for a thing. They worked really hard on whatever thing that was, and then they went and they shot it. And when they cut it, it was what they shot. You know what I mean? And, like, that's just what that was. It doesn't mean that, I mean, obviously there's going to be good and bad movies no matter what way you choose to do it. However, that is how you get consistency. That's how you know. When I do my projects, that's exactly how I approach them. Mm-hmm. Why? Because, like, I'm here to make the story that I'm here to make. I'm not here to make 12 other stories because, oh, that would be cool. Like, and there's something to be said about spontaneity. There's something to be said about, like, making new discoveries within a text. I'm not discounting any of that. That's not what I'm saying.
Sure.
But yeah, it's just that entire approach of, oh, well, the script is kind of just like a loose bag of ideas just so I can, like, basically get funny and get people on board, and is nothing but kind of like an open concept. But I'm gonna leave a bunch of doors open just in case I want to go this way or I want to go that way. And it's like, then what happens is you have a bunch of little random parts that don't actually go together and that don't have the same energy. They don't match the same
They're
tone.
committing at like different levels.
Exactly.
The
So you
scenes are
have
committing at different levels.
whiplash because they were never really meant to go together, because you're trying to smash a whole bunch of different stories and a whole bunch of different versions of things into one thing, and that's just not it's not conducive to actual storytelling, and so that's how we end up getting things like that. When it's like all of these problems always start from the beginning and at the top. That's basically the moral of the story. And I guess like that's the short and long of what I'm saying is that like all the problems that we see, it's not like they're fake problems. When you see someone and their performance is terrible, their performance was terrible. Like it's not wrong. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like when you say like the editing of that film was terrible, it's because it was terrible, right? Like when you say the screenwriting was terrible, it's because it was terrible. But when you look at the origin of these things and why they ended up at the end of, 300, 400, 500 million dollars, what after $500 million being spent, why we're seeing that on the screen is because of the very beginning, and because they didn't tighten it down before they started up the machine. So then what happens is the machine is falling apart, and by the time it gets delivered, it's not even able to do what it was designed to do in the first place, because it was kind of put together haphazardly, because you thought you knew a way that things could work. Oh yeah, we could try this, let's do this, let's do 20 alternate takes, let's do yada yada, and it sounds so great. It sounds like a dream. It sounds like, oh yeah, so I can pick and it's like, well, how about this? How about you know what you want and then you get that? How about that? How about
if I have a really great idea like 4 hours before shooting, man?
Yeah, exactly. It's like they make another movie. Oh, it's hard to do that, ain't it? Well,
yeah,
you might want to get this one right
years.
then. You know what I'm saying? So that's my thing with it, is like it ends up coming back to that, because like we're gonna see bad actors and we're gonna see bad VFX. Because that's the other thing too, like, why are the VFX so bad? But then when you find out, like, oh, it's because they're always in crunch. That's why. Because the VFX artists are always getting crunched.
Yeah,
they're always being overloaded. They're always being overworked. And it's like they're on these tight deadlines and all sorts of kind of stuff. Why? I can already guess why. Number one, all these random ass reshoots all the time. Another thing, because these studios have found a cheat code. They've realized, see, the scales have finally tipped, right? Once upon a time, it would have cost way more money to have an effects house do effects than it would have to do something practically. The scales have now tipped. Now it costs way more, depending upon what you're doing, but often it may cost way more to do something practically than it will to get it done
to outsource
in an effects house.
Yeah.
Especially as the cost of certain technologies have gone down, especially as the efficiency of the laborers have gotten better.
Yeah.
That means that costs have dropped drastically. And so you can just dump a whole bunch of work on them and get them to just do whatever and do these random scenes and redos because you forgot to do stuff, or because you want to go in another direction, or whatever, some exec is like, oh, I don't like the tone of this, or, oh, I think you should have a little funny thing here because yada, 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 so on and so forth. And so now you guys got to do a reshoot of this. You got to, do this ADR, yada, yada. Oh, let's actually change where this is at. Let's do blah, 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 right? Yeah, but it's fine because you can do that because you can just dump it on the VFX people because they sit at a computer and they can just roto and they can do, yeah, exactly.
Beep, boop,
Versus,
boop, beep, boop.
right. Instead of you going to a place having to actually bring in huge teams of people to rig stuff up, worry about safety, worry about crafties, worry about blowing up cars, worrying about permits, worrying about, you see what I'm saying? Like, even when it comes to something like the VFX, which we can obviously see is like terrible, where does it all start? It all starts from the beginning, and it all starts from the top.
It's a fair assessment. Yes. To tie things together, I put 2 more trailers in the queue. One is a trailer I never thought I'd see, to be honest. I just never thought I'd see it.
Watch the Godzilla -1 trailer. Oh God, dude, I hate season 1. I don't care how good.
I thought it wasn't coming back. I didn't know it was still going.
I thought they were gonna cancel it. Yep, I didn't know either. And I saw
didn't
this,
know.
And I was like, oh.
Did you watch the Halo show, Rich?
No,
Oh.
I didn't.
Season 1.
I just heard people talk about it.
Season 1 is done. They're doing season 2 now. Apparently.
She almost looked like Alita. Like she had that kind of like plasticky
like the eyes.
look on her face. Yeah.
For every moment that we hold the enemy at bay, more innocent people can escape. When they do, they will go forth and tell the story that you write today. You will be remembered.
I love that actor.
This would be so great if they didn't kept doing the Remembered.
It's definitely more of an intriguing trailer than the other one that came out for the first season because it's showing us like what we want out of this freaking show, which season 1 just absolutely failed in almost every way except for 2 episodes that I liked.
Yeah, I don't think season 1 was all bad. I almost, in a way,
There were some elements I liked.
I almost wish that the show wasn't even about the chief, because it still could have like taken place in this world. Like,
Oh, I hated every side arc. There was an episode that literally didn't even have. Dude, the episode with the stupid chick, like the kid or whatever, one of the worst episodes I've seen that year. Like it was terrible because I didn't care about her. I was like, why are we? It was like a revolutionary episode where like they're in this location and then all of a sudden they're like forming this group or whatever. It had I don't know the name of the actor. He was in this trailer, but he was like helping them, and then yeah, I just thought it just felt like a completely different show for 2 seconds, and I understand why they're showing Master Chief without the helmet so much because they want to humanize him, and that's what the writers were saying. I think that's a great idea, but sometimes they just make him boring.
yeah,
They make Master Chief boring.
this is part of why video game adaptations, I think, are so hard. The chief is more or less, he's intentionally a faceless hero, much like Link is a voiceless hero. They are an audience proxy. And by taking that away, you're not able to put yourself in the moment. And that's part of what made Halo so fun. You are taking on the Covenant. You're doing all this stuff because there's no face, there's no voice, and the game is kind of built to use that to its advantage. I'm not saying a Halo show couldn't work. I almost feel like having the chief be your main character, almost, I don't know if it's a particularly viable option. because of how much of a proxy he is for the player. He's like too much of one to adapt, I feel like.
It just
I think
it all
that
comes to the writing for season 2.
yeah, I think that briefly, like what comes to mind is that it's like a misconception that in order to have a character like that, like you said, that's like a proxy character, is then to make them generic. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that that's part of the problem.
You think that they're trying to maintain that sense of a proxy by making them a blank slate.
Yes.
Got
yes.
it. I see.
And I think that that is not the answer. But I don't think that it's a code that's been cracked. I don't know what that answer is. But I think that that's part of what the problem is.
There's one video game that I think would make an incredible one season show, and I don't think anyone's gonna do it because it is a very little known game now, but it was so well reviewed when it first came out, and there are some parts of it that would be hard to translate. It was a GameCube launch title. I think it was a launch title. It was called Eternal Darkness: Sanity's Requiem. It was a Lovecraftian horror game that spanned across like 2,000 years and told this super long story about 12 people over the course of 2,000 years who need to stop like these 3 Eldritchian cosmic beings. And it was a really good game. Part of what would be hard to translate, though, is the way the game plays with you. The game has like a sanity meter, and when like it would do things to mess with you. Like, it's clearly designed to be played on tube TVs. Like, you would see your volume go down and just mute, and you're like, I'm not touching the remote, nothing's happening. And then it would flash back to the game. There'd be a part where you go to save your game, and all of a sudden the game just starts deleting the save files without you touching it. And it actually scared the hell out of me because I was like, what? And then the game flashes to let you know that it was a trick. And I was like, stop pulling that shit on me. But all that being said, it just had this really cool idea of like a long story being told over time that has an immensely huge, diverse cast of characters from all over the world in all different time periods of history. It could make such a cool series. No one's going to touch it. It was an M-rated first-party Nintendo game, which was really rare, and the developer doesn't exist anymore. So sometimes, like, I know the popular games got to get made into movies, but sometimes there's like these sometimes really random little games do get made into movies, and you're like, how did this even happen? Like, this really? Like, I'm waiting for the Lemmings movie at this point. I genuinely am. But I would love, that's my own passionate side tangent of a game I would love to see get made. But we started off with monster movies. Let's just tie it home with a Godzilla -1 trailer. I'm really looking forward to seeing this movie, hopefully this week. It depends on my schedule meshing with my mother's, because we've been going to see more movies lately. We saw Killers of the Flower Moon a couple weeks ago. We didn't leave the theater depressed, but we did leave the theater feeling like uneducated. Kind of, at least I did. I felt like a rube. I was like, well, I have some reading to do. Just like this really ugly slice of American history that a lot of people didn't know about, that I was like, have you watched it yet, Rich?
No.
Excuse me. When the movie ends, I wasn't depressed, but I felt like I should have known.
Yeah.
I felt like I
that's a
should
good
have
feeling.
known, and I was like kind of astonished that I didn't. But we started with monsters and we'll end with monsters. I don't think I've seen this trailer yet.
I didn't either.
A grand sweeping blockbuster, says Katie.
空襲でやられたようです。
兄さんも私と同じね。
親子ともども縁あってこうして生きとったんだから。
だから私はどんなことがあっても死んではいけない。
Yeah, it's a really bad time to get attacked.
That was a great scene.
He looks great.
Music.
落としまだ。ゴジラですよね。
That shot, dear God.
あんなもん倒せっかありません。
え
戦争が終わってないんです。今度の戦いは未来を生きるための戦いなんです。
Godzilla -1.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like once I see it again, I'm going to cement it where it's going to be in my top 10 of the year. It's going to be on my top 10 for sure. I just really need to watch it again. That like man, when you see it, like there's a scene with Godzilla in the middle of the film where he's just wrecking shop where my body does two things. My heart just stops and my breath stops as well. I'm just like like what?
It's crazy to me that this was made for 15 million. Crazy.
Man, it looks amazing.
15.
And
1-5. That's 3 Bye-Bye Mans.
And if you look up the Marvels trailer right now, that movie cost 250 to 270 million, and it looks like
I mean, there's a huge part of movies that big that go to actors' salaries. I don't know how big it was for that, but I mean, like, the actors' salaries for this movie could not have been too big.
no.
Probably Godzilla himself got paid the most.
I think the reason why these movies look so good is because they also are clearly passionate about this, and they take their time.
Yeah.
Like, I'd be curious to know how long it took them in post with this film. I mean, maybe they worked really fast, but I feel like they probably really wanted to make this as great as possible with excellence. And man, you get I'll say this, they give you a few teases of the score in this trailer, and I was listening to it all day today while editing, and it's truly, there's a song in the soundtrack that just brings me back to a scene that's just haunting. They make Godzilla a villain. And
Yeah.
I'm not mad about the Monsterverse with Hollywood making him into like the savior essentially for
Yeah.
humanity. Like I like that idea. I think it's kind of
I
cool
mean,
that
Japan
he is the
did it too.
protector of
Japan did
Earth.
it first.
Yeah, and I like that, but I also like the idea of like he's a monster, and
Yeah.
and this one they make you feel like, how are we gonna stop him? Like, there is nothing that can stop this thing, like, at all, and you feel that you're like, what are we? How do we move forward?
Yeah.
Like, we thought nuclear bombs were gonna do the thing, like, or were the end of humanity. They make you feel like Godzilla is the end of humanity.
You know that there's currently a line of comics running of the Justice League versus Godzilla?
What the?
I read a few pages of Superman fighting Godzilla, and it was really bizarre. It was very
Godzilla.
strange.
Your mother's name is Martha.
Mothra?
Mothra? Bro, so many memes when BVS was coming out.
Yeah,
and I remember
I saw
when that
that
meme
one.
came out.
Patrick
I was
showed
like,
me
dude,
that one. It really touched his heart.
Dude, because I remember when BVS came out, I'm like, you know what Warner Brothers needs to do? They're going to make a Godzilla v King Kong movie, and it's literally just going to be like BVS, where they team up together at the end.
Well, I've heard
Literally
before of that
copycat
where
it.
they say Godzilla's the king of the monsters, Mothra's the queen of the monsters.
Yep.
But I feel like
That's
a
that's
Mothra movie
boom.
would have trouble doing well because people are like, a fire-breathing atomic dinosaur is just not as cool as a big moth, you know?
Yeah, we really
it
wanna go
doesn't
see that
have the
moth
same
movie.
draw. I feel like reptilian designs pull better numbers. People like dragons and lizards and dinosaurs and things like that. I mean, like in Kong, yeah, the main draw is Kong, but the monsters it ends up fighting are these really cool looking reptilian creepy crawlies that do have, I think, a really cool design to them.
Yeah.
But yeah, we started with monsters. I thought I consider this episode to be like catching up, shooting the breeze kind of kind of episode. We'll have to figure out what we want to do for something Christmassy. We could watch the Grinch horror movie. I heard it's not great.
Yeah. I heard about that one too.
Did you hear about
that'd
the
be good.
classroom of 4th graders where a teacher showed them 30 minutes of Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey and
Yep,
wouldn't
I heard
shut
about
it
that.
off?